In early 2000, Square shocked RPG fans by announcing Final Fantasy IX, 10, and 11 all at the same time. But even for a series that is defined by the change that comes with every entry, one game ended up very much unlike the others. It would be an understatement to say that it was unpopular for Square to develop Final Fantasy as an online RPG, or to be so brazen as to label this game as the 11th entry in the main series. Because of its time-consuming nature, the subscription model, or any number of reasons, Final Fantasy XI along with 14 are often called out as the two games in the main series that many people will never even consider playing. I honestly can't blame them, and despite my love for both Final Fantasy XI and 14, I've got plenty of misgivings about them too. But at the end of the day, there are two things that I find truly special about Final Fantasy XI. First, of course, the community that I played with and the adventures that we had. And then, the world of Vana'diel, a richly detailed and expansive Final Fantasy world that is lost to so many who love the other worlds of Final Fantasy. And that's what I want to share with you in this episode. Vana'diel is one of my favorite settings in all of gaming, and unless Square-Enix ever releases a single-player adventure in this world, most Final Fantasy fans will never experience it firsthand. I feel like Final Fantasy XI is more or less a closed book for me, but I recently revisited it during a free login campaign just to get one more look at Vana'diel. Although Vana'diel certainly has its share of spectacular sights and landmarks, a majority of the world design feels very down to earth. But these large, wide-open areas are also shockingly unique. A forest in the west looks almost nothing like a forest in the east, or anywhere else in Vana'diel for that matter. Design and textures change subtly as you move from one area to the next, creating a vast world that flows far more organically than your average video game setting. Perhaps to the detriment of the gameplay, but to the benefit of the world design, very few aspects of any one area call attention to it being designed the way it is because it is a video game. It's in this context that I found the most satisfying game world to explore that I've ever experienced. In 2004, I began my adventures in the Kingdom of Doria, one of the 3 nations that you can start the game in. It's an old, walled castle town full of history and tradition, mostly populated by Elven, Final Fantasy XI's tall, pointy-eared race. Doria used to be a lot busier back in the day when there were lots of new players, but this will always be my home in Vana'diel. Outside the city gates is a forested region called Ronfair, thick with trees and ancient Sandorian ruins scattered about. The music for Ronfair is one of Final Fantasy XI's relatively few tracks composed by Nobuo Uematsu, and it really played a huge role in drawing me into the game's atmosphere. I loved the sense that there was this huge world out there, most of which was not closed off by any game event or requirements that would hinder my ability to explore it. I just had to be stronger or much more careful. Further south is Lathon Plateau, and beyond it, the infamous Valkurm Dunes. People do things differently now, but back in the day, this is where most players congregated to fight lizards, crabs, and dragonflies from about level 10 or 12 to 20. And for me, where the reality of what online RPG gameplay was really like sunk in, for better or worse. Everyone has their stories about bad Valcurm parties, but I always thought this early leveling experience was very valuable in learning the game, player culture, and learning how to play your job. In southern Valcurm, along the coast, is a pleasant little port town called Selbina. Not only do the ships arrive and depart on a real schedule, they actually sail for more than 10 real-world minutes before arriving in the port of Muhara. This is in stark contrast to transportation in the significantly more modern Final Fantasy XIV, which exists only in spirit, instantaneous travel and teleportation taking its place. I can't deny that the new way is better for gameplay, and that, despite improvements, Final Fantasy XI is generally disrespectful of people's time. But with the ease of travel, we also lose the wonder of the vastness of the world, and the challenge of seeing it all is greatly diminished. South, through the rocky desert and canyons of Tarangi, you'll eventually find yourself in Tsuruta Baruta, a savanna-like grassland that serves as the low-level area for players who begin the game in the Federation of Windurst. This woodland nation is home to the smallest race of Vana'diel, the Taru Taru. Hey, I'm one of those guys. We're pretty cool, trust me. Windurst is also the immigrant home of the Mithra, the generally female-only race with cat-like features. Windurst is the largest of the starting nations by area, and I never quite learned to navigate its winding paths without a map. Hey, by the way, the regions surrounding Windurst prominently feature mandragoras. If you've played Final Fantasy XII or any other Final Fantasy game with this design of mandragora, well, this is where they came from. Okay, so back on the western continent of Quan, far south of Valcurm, there's the Republic of Vostok. The opening FMV calls it
the Republic of Bastard.
But where does he get that toque from? Anyway, I'm not gonna lie, this is not exactly my favorite place in the world. It's home to the plain old human race, the Humes, as well as the male-only Galka, who are reborn through a reincarnation process that isn't fully understood. And unfortunately, they aren't exactly treated equally around here. But hey, look, it's good old Sid, the guy who invented airships, so Vostok's got that going for it. Vostok is a city of mining and industry, and the city itself, while not necessarily to my taste, isn't that bad. Really, what gets me about Vostok is the surrounding region, known as Gustaberg, a gray and rocky wasteland of fumaroles and petrified trees. I mean, okay, I get it, this city was founded on mining, but this is a place where new players might begin the game in. I mean, what were they thinking? In the Konstadt Highlands, north of Gustaberg, you might notice a large white structure, I guess? It's called the Crag of Dim. There's also the Crag of Hala in Lathon Plateau near Sandoria, and the Crag of Mia in Tarangi Canyon near Windurst. These are actually of ancient Zilartian design, and their connection to the Mother Crystals creates a system that allows teleportation through the use of white magic, meaning you need to recruit the services of a white mage, or know white magic yourself to use this convenience. Again, for most of Final Fantasy XI's life, it's been a game of daunting travel distances and few shortcuts, creating an impressive world of scale and wonder, but I'm not denying that this has had implications on its playability as a game. Also of note are the beast tribes that plague each region. Around Sandoria are the orcs, the turtle-like Quadav in Vostok, and my favorite, the truly creepy Yagudo in the Windurstian regions. Centrally located between the three starting nations is the Grand Duchy of Juno. Once a small fishing village, its mysterious leaders have brought Juno to prominence and established an alliance between the nations of Vana'diel. Needless to say, this has been a major player hub throughout the life of Final Fantasy XI, to greater or lesser degrees, depending on where the newest content was located. At around level 20, most players make the dangerous journey to Juno by foot so that they can earn a chocobo license. Far north of Doria, in the snow-covered Busadine Glacier in Sarkabard region, is a land crawling with Ahriman, undead, and demons. This is where you find Castle Sval, occupied by the Shadow Lord, the final boss of the game's original story arc. Finally defeating the Shadow Lord with my friends will always be one of my favorite gaming memories.
I think that's it.
If he's dying or if...
Yes!
Yes!
You did it! Oh! Yes!
Though in reality, it's only a sliver of what Final Fantasy XI has come to offer through 5 major expansions and 6 mini-expansions. In Final Fantasy XI's second expansion, Chains of Promethea, which is arguably the third and final arc of the game's core storyline, you can finally visit the Tavnasian archipelago and get a view of the city that was destroyed in the game's opening cinematic. Chains of Promethea ends in the celestial capital of Alteu, where you walk atop a time-warped ocean and fight giant sea creatures. Now this is a right proper Final Fantasy final dungeon. I love it when they get all crazy like this. Believe it or not, over 12 years after its Japanese release in 2002, Final Fantasy XI is still popular enough for Square-Enix to continue operating and updating. So if you want to see Vana'diel for yourself, I don't think it's going away anytime soon. But even if not, I hope I've given you an appreciation for Final Fantasy XI that you may have not had before. It's not some offshoot MMO with no story, or a side game undeserving of a number in its title. Final Fantasy XI may have its share of problems, but even still, I'll never regret the time I spent with my friends in Vana'diel.